On a frigid January morning earlier this year, within the grandeur of the Washington National Cathedral, something unexpected happened. It wasn't just the solemnity of a national tradition, the inaugural prayer service. It wasn't just the ceremonial gathering of clergy, dignitaries, or even the sitting president. What made that moment historic, what stirred hearts across the country, was the courage of one voice. The Right Reverend Mary Ann Edgar Budde, Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, D.C., stood in front of the nation and offered something more than a prayer. She offered a plea, a final plea, as she called it, not out of fear, not out of fury, but out of mercy. Standing just feet away from President Donald Trump, with cameras rolling and the stakes high, Bishop Budde looked straight into his eyes with searing bravery and called on him to act with decency and mercy. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in this country who are scared now. No anger, no accusation, but also no avoidance. She spoke truth with clarity, with grace, and with the full awareness that words, when spoken from the heart, can still shake the walls of power. She did not generalize. She did not hide behind pleasantries. She named names. She gave fear a face. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. The people who pick our crops may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. She invoked God. More than that, she invoked our better angels. She reminded the president and all of us listening that power must answer to compassion, that policy must bow to dignity, and that mercy isn't weakness, it's leadership. This wasn't a comfortable moment, but it was a necessary one. And it is one that still reverberates 6 months later. In that moment, Bishop Budde didn't offer us a prescription. She offered a mirror. She asked the president, and by extension, the entire nation, who do you want to be now? What story will you tell about who we were and how we treated each other in this moment of division and fear? It was a prayer, yes, but it was also a moral compass, and one that we still need. Because though the prayer was months ago, the pain persists. We are already seeing the destruction of the rights to bodily autonomy, assembly, and free speech. People are being ripped away from their families. These are moments of high stakes. Authoritarianism is rising. Disruption is accelerating. We are being moved away from freedom, assaulted by weapons of fear and misinformation. So the prayer didn't end that morning. It simply began. And we are among its stewards. Moments of moral courage are not lightning strikes, but lanterns, held high so that others can walk more clearly. Bishop Budde did not simply speak into a vacuum. She spoke into a moment of reckoning. And the echo of her plea, have mercy, asked to be picked up by each of us. Consider what Bishop Mary Ann Edgar Budde did that morning in the National Cathedral. It wasn't just a speech. It was an act of public faith, carried out with startling vulnerability and strength. There she stood in one of the most sacred and visible pulpits in this country. She was not there to flatter, to charm, to pacify. She was there to pray, but also to proclaim, to name what was at stake, to call all of us, not just one person, to account. And her prayer, courageous as it was not an angry reproach. It was something more difficult, more meaningful. It was a moral invitation. She named fear, the fear of LGBTQ+ children, the fear among immigrants, the fear among those who live on society's margins. And then she named responsibility, not just the president's responsibility, but all of ours. She reminded us that in times of national division and moral crisis, unity cannot be achieved through denial or silence. It only comes through dignity, honesty, and humility. Honoring the inherent dignity of every human being. This wasn't a vague moralism. Bishop Budde named dignity where it was being denied. She said, there are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. The people who pick our crops are not criminals. They pay taxes. They are good neighbors. In naming them, she honored their humanity. She refused to let them be erased or reduced. And in doing so, she reminded us, unity begins not with agreement, but with dignity. Next, she called for honesty, not just from the podium, but at the dinner table, not just in political speeches, but in the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. Honesty in public discourse means confronting hard truths. It means naming the systems that harm. It means being clear-eyed about what fear and power can do to a nation's soul. But honesty in private conversation might be even harder. It means sitting with a family member who's hurting or who sees the world differently and telling the truth, not to win an argument, but to stay human together. Honesty builds the kind of trust that democracy requires and that community cannot live without. Bishop Budde's honesty wasn't brutal. It wasn't flashy. It was brave. She told the truth and she trusted us to hear it. And finally, humility. She did not speak with superiority. She did not condemn. She did not demand submission to a worldview. She said over and over, may God grant us the strength and courage. Not may I, not may you, but us. She included herself in the plea, in the need, in the moral work of transformation. In that space of humility, real connection becomes possible. Bishop Budde didn't wield her power, she modeled restraint. She trusted that mercy and truth together are stronger than any act of coercion. It's easy to admire courage from a distance. It's harder to translate that admiration into action. But that's exactly what Bishop Budde's sermon invites us to do. We can't let her words stay trapped in that cathedral on a January morning. We have to carry them into our lives, our communities, and even into the messiness of our daily choices. As we heard in last week's General Assembly sermon, injustice is running rampant. We are in a profound crisis. The core of our UU values, love, equity, justice, and compassion, are all being marginalized and even criminalized. The assault on climate change, education, healthcare, economic inequality, racism, xenophobia, queer phobia, disdain for the old and young, the sick and the poor. None of this is new, but newly emboldened and empowered. As Unitarian Universalists, we are in a place of possibility. We have an opportunity to demonstrate our faith, and we must. This moment is urgently testing the boundaries of our Unitarian Universalist ideals. It is asking us how deeply we truly believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person. When we see greed, will we answer with generosity, like the food we share on the fourth Sunday? When we encounter fear and hatred, will we answer with love? These are not abstract questions. They are reminders that we are profoundly interdependent and that the work of justice depends on how we show up for one another. Those who seek to divide and control us through authoritarian and fascist tactics rely on making us feel alone, afraid, and powerless. But our power, our resilience does not come from fear. It comes from community. It comes from strengthening the muscles of connection and care. We have already named and claimed a set of values that define us. Now we are called to live them more fully, to engage them faithfully in every choice we make. And I believe we mean it when we say our values are justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, and generosity. And I believe we mean it when we say that love is at the center. Our values are calling us to become, more than ever, Unitarian Universalists in practice as well as in name. Becoming more deeply faithful people, passionately living into our values, requires practice, and that takes bravery. Thankfully, Bishop Buddy can guide us there. Bishop Buddy tells us, courage is not a characteristic that some people have and others don't. It's for all of us. It's something that we learn throughout life. We learn more about courage when we intentionally practice it, and even better, when we practice it together. Bravery, like meditation or spirituality, is a practice. The more we pursue it, the easier it becomes. Moments of bravery follow seasons of preparation, practice, and intention. Bishop Buddy uses a baseball analogy for training bravery. I don't follow sports, but I used to live in Baltimore, so I know who Cal Ripken is. Cal played his entire 21-season career for his hometown team, the Baltimore Orioles. He is one of only 10 players to achieve over 3,000 career hits. Cal's father and brother were also professional ball players, so genetics are a factor in his talent. But like all of us, Cal had to learn his skills and then hone them. Luckily, he's remembered for the records that he set and not for his swings and misses. This is how we learn to be brave. Stepping up to the plate when we're not ready is the price of beginning, the price of learning. This is a crucial step. If we learn to accept failure as a part of growth, we can learn the lessons that we need and be better prepared next time. We get better. Bishop Buddy reminds us, the courage to be brave when it matters most requires a lifetime of small decisions that set us on a path of self-awareness, attentiveness, and willingness to risk failure for what we believe is right. We all have this capacity. We often look at people who we consider brave. Bishop Buddy, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Oskar Schindler, Greta Thunberg, and assume that they have always been brave. They were not born that way. They moved towards something important and became the person who was able to accomplish what was once beyond their ability. Former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright was once described by Maryland Senator Barbara Mikulski as a 25-year overnight success. 25 years of stepping up to the plate, swinging and missing, over and over again, until one day she made contact. And the rest is history. During the aftermath of her inaugural prayer service, Bishop Buddy and some colleagues formed Be Brave Together to help people learn courage in everyday life. They offer free workshops that show that bravery is not about grand gestures, but the small choices we make when life is hard or uncertain. They teach simple tools to help us move forward with more clarity and courage. All we need to do is practice them. I took this workshop a few weeks ago, and it was one of the best workshops that I have ever experienced. And I don't say those things lightly. I learned that building bravery is a practice, one that is best learned with other people. And I was guided through the small, simple steps to become braver. And I learned the importance of perseverance. I thought of Cal Ripken again when Bishop Buddy said, like a baseball player who's been training for months, for years, there's nothing left to do but step up to the plate and swing. Stepping up to the plate isn't something we do once, but time and time again. Change is slow. Cal Ripken earned the name Iron Man for the most consecutive games played. Cal showed up 2,632 times in a row. He persevered. I think everyone should take this workshop. The website address is in this morning's order of service, and Tech has posted it in the chat box for those of you joining us on Zoom. I'd love to see us practice this together because courage is contagious. It's been 6 months since that inaugural prayer service. Some might say it was a fleeting moment, a single prayer, a news cycle, a conflict now eclipsed by newer headlines. But I would argue the opposite. Bishop Buddy's voice that day still echoes, and it must. It haunts me. Because the fear she named has not vanished. LGBTQ plus children are still being targeted by policies that question their very existence. Immigrants are still being demonized by rhetoric that confuses legality with morality. Our democracy remains fragile, frayed by polarization, disinformation, and deep mistrust. And so her plea, have mercy, still stands, not just to those in power, but to us. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being. This isn't about a president anymore. It's about a people. It's about the soul of a nation. And it's about us as religious people who believe that truth matters, dignity matters, inclusion matters, and silence is never neutral. This moment in history, our moment, is asking not just for policies or platforms, it's asking for moral imagination, for spiritual resilience, for brave, imperfect people who are willing to risk comfort for conscience. It's asking us to meet the moment. And that's exactly the kind of people we are called to be. Bishop Buddy closed with a broad, hopeful affirmation. May God grant us all the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth in love and walk humbly. These aren't just words for the past, they are a guide for the future. We, like her, can live these ideas even when our words vary. We too can choose mercy. We too can build unity. We too can learn to be brave by returning again and again to what matters most. Mercy is not weakness. It is a discipline, a strength, a moral anchor. Mercy resists letting harm have the final word. So let us say the hard things when needed. Let us sit beside the one who feels forgotten. Let us hold fast to mercy in a world quick to condemn. Because mercy is the choice to keep showing up for one another, for the truth, and for the kind of world we know is still possible. Because bravery is the steady choice to rise again, even when fear tempts us to shrink back. It is the daily practice of aligning our actions with our values, of risking comfort for conscience, of showing up for mercy and justice, even when the outcome is uncertain. Bravery is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to move through it, carrying one another as we go. Let us carry Bishop Buddy's prayer forward, not frozen in history, but alive in our commitments. Let her message rekindle in us the courage to say what is hard, to defend the vulnerable, to walk humbly and fiercely for justice. Let her courage call forth our own. We are not powerless, we are not voiceless, and we are not alone. So let us answer with our lives. Let us speak the truth in love. Let us honor the dignity of every person. Let us walk humbly. And when the noise of division grows loud, let us return to mercy. Because we remember, all of us need all of us to make it. And may it be so.